Hi, everyone. Welcome back from the long weekend. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Amy, and I'm one of the SSI Science Communication interns this summer. This is our third episode of our Live with the SSI Interns live stream series, where we interview interns from our SSI cohort. So to provide a bit of background for anybody who's not familiar with our program, SSI stands for the Summer Systematics Institute, and we are a research undergrad experience funded by the National Science Foundation here at the California Academy of Sciences. And with the exception of myself and Tala, who is the other SSI SciComm intern, all of our other interns work directly with curators or postdocs here at the Cal Academy. So we have a preset list of questions for our interns, but feel free to leave comments or questions in the chat, and we will get to them as the discussion unfolds. But without a further ado, I'm super excited to interview our guest today, which is Joseph. So Joseph, hi. If you'd like, feel free to share your hometown, pronouns, home institution, and anything else you want our audience to know about you.
Hello, I'm Joseph. I grew up here in the California Bay Area, around pretty much everywhere. So I grew up in Fremont, and then I moved to the other side of the bay in Palo Alto and Sunnyvale. Then we moved up to Berkeley after I graduated. So I've been everywhere. My pronouns are he, him, and I go to University of California, Riverside in SoCal. Something I would like the audience to know about me is I really like lizards.
Awesome. I actually forgot to tell you this earlier, but I'm wearing like my gecko motorcycle shirt for you today.
Oh,
Yeah,
my,
so
that's
super
so
excited
cool.
that you mentioned that you like lizards, because I was trying to figure out how to weave it in
I'm so
there.
jealous, man. I want a cool lizard shirt.
We'll get you one. By the end of this
Yeah.
internship, we'll find one. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for introducing yourself to our guests. So our sort of first question, super easy, but how would you explain your summer research project to a fifth grader?
Yeah, so this summer I'm the science illustration intern, so I have a sort of different project than everyone else. What I'm doing is illustrating for a species description for a new species of gecko we discovered. Um, and when you illustrate for new species, you need to pay attention to a few different features to help differentiate it from other similar species. So for example, the shape of the toes can be different, or different, like the distance between the nostrils can even be different. So a lot of different like details to pay attention to, and that's what I'm doing. But I'm also doing a few different things, like fun projects on the side.
Yeah, that was awesome. And I imagine for geckos, like the toe pads are super important because that's where they have all the little sticky adhesive. I don't even know what exactly it is, but I'm sure you know better than
Oh yeah,
me.
oh no. I'm just a casual, relatively speaking. But yeah, we're working with frogs this summer, but I would love to do more gecko stuff also. um
Yeah,
yeah.
awesome. Well, I know that you said that you're a biological illustration intern, but I know that you also definitely have a hard science background. So one of our next questions is, what did you think research was before entering this internship, or before having any other sort of science research experiences prior to this?
Yeah, so my first real research experience was last year when I joined a lab at my university, working with geckos and gecko running and gecko um, claw morphology type stuff. So before that, I guess I had a very like vague idea of what science was. Like I guess everyone grows up thinking like there are like two kinds of scientists basically, and that's like naturalists who like chase animals in the wilderness, and then like lab scientists who like I don't know pipette stuff and work with petri dishes and stuff. And those are like my two general ideas as a child of like what scientists look like. Um, and I always knew I wanted to go into like a science STEM type field, but I wasn't sure like what that looked like or like how that works in like a real sense. Um, and then after joining a lab, I realized it's a lot of menial labor and like bureaucratic work and a lot more reading than it is like that kind of idealized like chasing lizards in the wilderness type thing. Um, but in a lot of ways, this is like also a dream job in a way because we do get to go out and do field work and like go into nature and go to fun locations. So I guess that's my idea of research then and now.
Yeah, no, I think that's really awesome because I think growing up, I sort of only thought about the lab component, and that was my only like frame of reference for what research looks like. So it's great to hear from somebody who did sort of at least have like two visions of science in their heads from a young age. And it seems like you really wanted to like go out and chase lizards. And even though that's maybe not necessarily what you come to view research as, I'm sort of curious if you feel like you are a scientist, and what does that sort of mean to you to consider yourself a scientist?
I feel like I'm not quite there yet. Hmm, like I guess being a scientist requires a lot wider of a body of knowledge than I feel like I have now, or like I'm working towards it, but I don't know. I don't feel qualified. Even though for other people, I would say like if you're curious about the world around you and if you're asking questions, I would say that you could call yourself a scientist. I just, for some reason, don't feel like I can call myself one.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
totally fair. I think I similarly like am much more lenient or flexible with other people than I am with myself.
No, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think though that you have like a really sort of cool breadth of knowledge and experience, like both having this like hard STEM background, but then also like now having this like biological illustration component. So I don't know. I think I'd say you're more well-rounded in a very different and holistic way than a lot of other scientists that I
That
know.
that's so nice to hear. Like, I feel like sometimes I'm just putzing around and doing what I find fun, and like that's what this internship is to me. Is just like I want like a wider range of experiences and like being able to like tie illustration into like my science background has been a really nice experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I swear I read on like Raina's like curator profile once that she said like if you're not having fun like while doing science, like why do it at all? So I think it's great that you and sort of your PI both share this like joy and wonder in science. So our next question is just how do you feel your personal identity informs your science?
Yeah, so I feel like so lucky almost to like grow up in the Bay Area and like have parents that like strongly encouraged me and like exposed me at a young age to like science. Like when I was really little, they brought me to Cal Academy, so it's like been a fun full circle. So they really pushed me into like science. Um, I don't think they intended it for to go this direction though. Like I think they wanted me to become a doctor or something more practical, but um, I really have my parents to thank for that. So like being second generation Asian American has really like been what motivated me to become like a scientist. Um, not in the way my parents wanted, but it is their fault. So yeah. Other than that, I guess like being like queer and Asian has definitely like changed my perspective on a lot of things. Like there are some concerns with like, is it safe almost to like do field work and like go to some places because of my identity? But I don't feel like it has been like a hard barrier in in like any way. It's just like there are a few different things that you need to consider, or like not to get too serious, but like sometimes there are concerns about like safety or yeah, not to get too serious or anything. But
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And I think here at the Academy in particular, like there is such a great emphasis on how your identity impacts your science. And I think, you know, having openly queer scientists here who do talk about like the realities of if you are queer, like there are certain places in the world where you do have to have extra considerations as to whether or not you can go both as a team member and then later on as somebody potentially leading a lab. Like, what are those considerations for yourself and for the members of your lab who may or may not feel safe. So I think that's like a really great point to bring up that a lot of people I think often don't think about when they think about field work, because you just sort of imagine that it's like, oh, you can go anywhere and do anything, which
yeah,
absolutely like there are opportunities everywhere, but also personal considerations.
yeah, and I feel very grateful to be at a university and like in a state that is very welcoming and accepting. And I think overall, like the attitude in the field has shifted towards like accepting people for their differences. Um, but there's still definitely a lot of progress in terms of like access and you know visibility.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's really awesome to sort of hear, I think, from individuals like yourself who represent this like new and upcoming generation of scientists. who are really sort of cognizant of the ways their identities intersect with their science and are like pushing to continue that change within science, which I think is greatly needed for various reasons. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And our very last sort of fun bonus question of the day is, what is your biggest science hot take?
I don't know if this is like controversial, like within the sciences, but my hot take is birds are herps and should be considered herps. This is something my PI was really got me into, is birds are like nested in like reptiles, like cladistically. So um like having them be like separated, and they're often also separated in like collections and have their own little thing going on. They're just fancy herps to me.
I think my love for bio was re-sparked because of a herpetology class I took. And that was absolutely a hot take because one of like the sort of TAs was an ornithologist, and they would argue all the time with us about even though it's a fact that like birds are nested like phylogenetically within herps, we would fight about it all the time. So
Yeah, no, it's a fun little back and forth between herpetologists and ornithologists, I think.
yeah, absolutely. I will now have to think of a new hot take because that was going to be mine. So I have a
Ooh,
week to
I
think about
stole
mine.
yours. I stole
I
yours.
know, it's okay. It's okay. It's totally fine. I'll just have to get a little bit more creative. Cool. So we actually do have a question from the audience. So their question is, do you have any future career plans slash aspirations and any specific organism groups that you hope to work with?
Ooh, oh boy. Okay, that's like two different long things I could go on about. But so my plans immediately. So I graduated last quarter, so I'm like the one person who's already finished and is going off to grad school. I'm planning to go back to my current university and work with my current professor on some projects on gecko running mechanics and like how they navigate obstacles. So that's like my short term, is I'm doing a master's and I plan to go into a PhD in the future. And my long term goal on that, I haven't really figured out if I want to become like a professor, if I want to do more museum work. I feel like working at Cal Academy has like opened my eyes to like a lot of different career possibilities, like outside of just academia, like research professorship type stuff. Um, so I don't know. I'm leaving my options a little bit open, and also like obviously I'm working in illustration right now, which is completely a slightly different thing. Um, I don't know. I'd love something that can tie all of it together. So we'll see. Um, and my specific organism groups I want to work with. So I work a lot with geckos because my PI works with geckos, but one day like I would love to work with other lizards too, or like other reptiles. Um, like find my own reptile group that I want to work with. But I don't know just yet what that would look like or like what that would be.
Yeah, no, that's, I think, totally awesome. And congrats on graduating undergrad and then jumping right back into your master's. Best of luck.
I
And
know.
I hope you find something that sort of gets to tie in all of your varied interests, and whether that's with geckos or some other super cool reptile that you can chase around and find. Yeah, I wish you the best of luck and keep us updated on those journeys.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Alrighty, well, that essentially wraps up all of our official questions for Joseph today, but thank you so much once again for joining us in this live stream series. Before we officially end, we want to encourage everyone to follow our social media channels on Instagram and Twitter, which are going to be posted as a banner pretty soon on our screen. And this will allow you to just join us virtually for all of our summer adventures. And then we are going to go ahead and post contact information that Joseph has shared with us. So if you want to get in touch with Joseph, talk to him about geckos or art, or what does it look like to do a master's, feel free to reach him at the information that's posted in the comments section. And then lastly, tune in today, actually at 11:35 a.m. We're going to have our next installation of this series where Tala is going to be interviewing Ethan. So with that, we'll go ahead and let Joseph go off and actually do his job.
Oh no.
Same here. But yeah, have a great day, everybody.
Bye.